So bear with me. Great. Welcome everyone to another localized session. We are so happy to have you here, whether you're returning, if this is your first event, welcome to the community. And if you are new, especially, this is a global platform where we connect students and recent graduates from emerging markets. So especially the regions of Middle East, Africa, and Latin America, and all the way to Southeast Asia. We connect you guys to job opportunities and career resources to help you, guide you in this pathway that you're seeking. If you're still in college or you're just like graduating from undergraduate or even like graduate school, we are here to guide you on any questions you might have. We are here to guide you with a pool of amazing experts like today's expert to guide you in these different decisions that you have to take when you're graduating and when you're entering the job market. So today, as you might know, we're going to be talking about a really, really exciting topic, which is building a career abroad. And we're going to share tips on how to stand out and actually get hired abroad. And abroad, we were just talking before we started the record button. But abroad might mean something totally different for each one of you. Abroad might be in the country next to you, which is a great step. Abroad for others might be basically moving to the other part of the world, to the other side of the world. So it doesn't matter what abroad means to you, but we're gonna share tips that can help you in any career or any role or even any region or country you're wanting to seek a career in. So we really hope these tips help you. If you have any questions at any point about our expert's journey, about the topic itself, or even a question about your own case, if you're already like taking these steps, you can share those questions in the chat, or you can also send them on the bottom part of Zoom. You might see a Q&A little button, so you can also share the questions there as you prefer, guys. But okay, so we're going to start, and some of you might already know our expert because this is your second time with us and not the last one. So today's expert is Lakon, and just a little bit intro. We're gonna hear about him, but just a little bit intro about him is that he's a go-to-market and business development specialist for multiple fintech startups in the EMEA space. He is endorsed by the United Kingdom as an exceptional talent in the global digital technology space. And he's also part, for about now 3 years, he's also part of the Project Management Institute Next Gen Insight team as a global volunteer. We had the first session with our expert, actually with the team of the Project Management Institute some months ago. So I'm gonna, after the session, I'm gonna share in the chat the session that we had with him talking about other topic different from today's. But yeah, this is our expert, and I'm going to pass it on to you now, Lakon. So the stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. I mean, I didn't expect that we would have this much persons join the join the conversation. A little background. So my name is Lakon. I think I recently moved to the UK about 4 months ago, and my experience coming from Nigeria to the UK, even though I was endorsed by the UK as a global talent, the hustle, as we call it in Nigeria, was really, really, really intense. And some might say I got it easy in 4 months or so, but I felt like the experiences I had needed to be shared, because I believe strongly that everyone on this call has divided into 2 categories. You are either in your country right now and you're looking for a job outside of the country, in Europe, in UK, in Americas, or you're looking to relocate, or you have relocated to another country and you're currently there. You're probably a student, you probably moved with, we have a lot of visas, and you're looking for a job. And as a student, you probably have 20 hours a week that you can work, or as a global talent visa guy, you're probably looking for as much work or jobs as you can. So what I intend to share right here is my experiences, personal experiences on how you can navigate getting or positioning yourself properly to get the jobs that you want, not just any job in the UK, using my strategy, which fair to say has worked in that sense. So thank you. I'm going to take up a presentation round now, show you a very unconventional way I'm presenting it. Might be lazy, but it's pretty much unconventional. And I'm open to questions. And Michelle, how many minutes do I have so I stay in line? How many minutes do I have?
You can, I mean, we're right on time, so you can take about like 30 minutes with the presentation if you need. If you and as any, I mean, if anyone has any questions at any point, again, just share them in the chat or in the Q&A, and we will start answering those questions as soon as Lacan finishes like the first part of the session.
Awesome. So I'm gonna be straightforward, very fast, not take too much time, and be very, very succinct. So here we go. Give me a minute. Yes. So it's not too complicated. Can everyone see my screen?
It's still loading. So it says that you had started sharing screen, but we don't see the actual.
How about now? Still the same?
Yeah, I mean, at least on my end, I only see like the black screen with the legend that you have started sharing screen, but we don't actually see the document. Yeah, exactly. Someone else, thank you, Monia.
Okay.
Attila are saying the same.
Okay, can you help bring it up on your own end, Michelle? Can you help bring it on your own end?
So do you want me to share?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Give me just a second. I will do that. Thank you, guys. I see people were also sharing that they were seeing the same as me. Yeah. These are small technical issues that happen in this digital world, but we are going to solve it in a minute.
Honestly, I would have gone the no presentation route, but I understand that people only listen to 20% or 10% of what is said. But if there's a visual representation, it increases to attention increases to about 40 or 50%. And I'm hoping that we could share a link to this document to everyone on the call, so you could revisit it later when you're probably when you have more time. I know a number of us are still at work. So why she's bringing up the presentation, it's coming up now, not yet. Just 1 minute.
Just one. Yes, thank you, Taiwo Oluchi. We're working on it. We're gonna share it. Okay. Are you seeing it right now?
Yes, it's up now.
Okay, maybe do you want me to make it bigger, or is it okay?
It's okay. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Amazing.
So I'm going to go straight to the point. I'm not going to dilly-dally. Honestly, coming to another country that is not your country, I mean, in your country, you know it is very hard to get a job. I will speak from the Nigerian context. We have 40% or 50% of the youth in Nigeria are unemployed. The average unemployment rate in Africa is about 30 to 50%. What that means is to get a job anywhere is hard. To get a job in a developing or underdeveloped country is hard. And whatever skill set you think you have in your country is probably, say, 40 or 50% less rated in a developed country. I'm speaking from experience. So I left Nigeria as an account executive at Okra at an open banking startup. And open banking is pretty much really big in the UK and the US. And yes, yet I still had my struggles. So the first thing I would say is your resume and your LinkedIn carry the same weight. If you think you could put all your energies on your resume and not have any attention on your resume and your localized platform, you're missing the point. Honestly, about 60% of professionals, HR professionals, and CEOs, before they have interviews with you, would check your LinkedIn first before they check your resume or the feedback the hiring manager or the HR person is sharing with them. So underneath it, your previous experiences, I mean, coming from Africa or Asia or Middle East, a lot of us have done contract works. Sometimes we're doing 3, 4, 5 jobs at the same time. It is very, very imperative that the dates have to align. You probably know this, it's all right. And one thing most people will not agree with, especially in the UK and in Europe, you have to stand out. For every single job that has been posted out there, on the average, 2,000 people are applying for these jobs. Some can go as high as 200,000. Now imagine you're applying the same way as other persons. Based on my own experience, you have to have a standard cover letter for every application, even if it's not optional. You have to have the templates written out somewhere. If you're applying for 3 types of roles, sales, project management, or DevOps, or technical writing, always have a cover letter you can copy and paste. It doesn't have to be personalized. Just send it out. Number 2, apply for specific roles. You can't apply for just only one role. I'm sorry. If you're thinking you're coming from Nigeria as a front-end engineer or as a salesperson, and that is exactly what you want to do in the UK or in Europe, you are mistaken, honestly. For me, it was sales and project management. Luckily for me, which I always advise people is before you come to the UK or anywhere or leave your country, make sure you have at least 2 to 3 years or 4 years experience under your belt, whether as an intern or as an associate, any kind of experience. Because if you come to the UK, come to the US, you're literally starting your career fresh. But if you have a level of experience from your country that's a bit reputable, maybe you won't start from scratch. Maybe. And that's a very big maybe. I mean, I applied for a lot of SDR and sales associate roles, even as a senior account executive. I mean, I've spent 6 years in sales in the highest, almost the highest tech environment in Nigeria, and I still applied as a sales development representative. So I have 3 roles that I've gone in for. Again, number 3, have multiple achievements that are focused and targeted in your resumes. Focus and targeted in your resumes. Don't go more than, I'll show you a resume template. Honestly, I mean, I don't like to say things that I know that you can't match with reality. Have multiple achievements that are focused and targeted to the roles. And one important thing, there's a very fancy questions HR always ask here. They will ask you, what is your current situation? Don't be tempted to say, oh, I have not eaten, oh, I am jobless, I'm looking for a job. No. What they mean by what is your current situation is, why are you in the UK? Do you have a visa? Do you need sponsorship? What is your current job situation? And your job situation, they are not talking about any job situation. They're talking about job situation as it pertains to the role that you applied, as it pertains to the company value, as it pertains to the company itself. So it's a very tricky question. What is your situation? Talk about visa status. Talk about what you're doing currently. Before they ask, talk about why you're looking to leave your current position. If you are unemployed, please don't say you're unemployed. Say you're probably volunteering somewhere, which everybody probably is. You have to show a form of activity that you are currently doing now. That is your current situation. Your current situation is not you're hungry. It's not you're looking for a job. It's not like you just need to survive. That's a very important one. Another important one is apply on specific platforms. I mean, I had to learn this the hard way. Personally, I got most of my jobs from Otter.com. Otter is fantastic. It's a tech HR platform, and all the interviews I got, I listed all of them in this presentation. 90% of them were from Otter. Most of the responses I got from application were on Glassdoor. Otter and Glassdoor are high priority platforms for non-tech roles. They have tech roles, but it's fine. ArcJobs are for tech roles. Jobserve.com is for more traditional roles. It is important that you prioritize your attention, your application energies on this platform specifically. That is what worked for me. And honestly, at some point, I was in about 100 applications a day because I mean, I didn't have any job as it were. But I did. I mean, I had a job in Nigeria, but I mean, if you convert our local currency to pounds or naira or to euros, I mean, we all know what we're talking about. Again, spend time on the company LinkedIn and localized posts. Localized is the platform that is sponsoring this event as well. But it is very, very important. Every single person that you'd have a call with, have an interview with, stalk them on LinkedIn. I mean it in a whole positive way, not negative way. Stalk them on LinkedIn, check their post, get context about them when you're talking about the role, about anything in the company, about your experiences, say it within the context of what they have. So next page. I'm trying to move as fast as possible. I wrote this about a month or 2 months ago. Yeah, so again, check out the company on TechCrunch. Honestly, I'm a news savvy person. I mean, I read news on literally all the platforms, from TechCrunch to Tech Digest to German tech website to Chinese news website to US tech websites. There is no platform currently that talks about a tech company as much as TechCrunch. I mean, first of all, if they have a news article on TechCrunch, lucky you. TechCrunch will give you all the information that you need about the company. In fact, you don't probably need to even check their website. Once you check everything that's been written, how much they raised on TechCrunch, you are good. Read extensively on the role. Rearrange your experiences to mentally align with the job description. I mean, I only talk, so when I'm applying for sales role, I only talk about my sales experiences, and I only talk about my recent sales experiences. I don't talk about what I did 4 years ago. They don't care. Honestly, 90% of the time when I'm speaking with HR professionals, they are only asking, tell us about your previous recent experience. So, yeah, next one, always acknowledge invitation emails. I mean, a lot of us have a very, very terrible email culture. I personally, I enjoy emails. I mean, I check my emails probably every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes. Yeah, at that point, it's probably obsession. But still, you have to acknowledge invitation email. So when the HR manager sends you an email saying, book a time, acknowledge. Thank you very much. I booked the time. In fact, I always go as far as sending a screenshot of the available times I've selected there, so that whatever laziness would come upon you as an HR professional, it won't affect me. If you have been moved to the second stage, acknowledge and confirm that you've seen it. If you are being rejected, acknowledge and respond to. I mean, it's hard, no matter how connected you are, acknowledge. And by acknowledge, I'm not saying, say thank you for your response. No, you could say, that's so sad. I wish you best of luck in your search for future candidates. That way, it helps your morale, and he also tells them that, you're good, you're fine. And in addition to that, on the average, okay, I'll get there. I think I'll get there. I'll get there. And when you're joining interviews, join meetings at least 5 minutes early. I learned this, and it's very strategic. It helps with the psyche of the HR professional and yourself. And I like it when they apologize if they join late. They always apologize. It helps with your morale. It helps with your psyche as you're entering the interview. Another one. So if you notice the points I'm giving are ranging from when you apply to the interviews and post interviews. So please do well to mentally align them. Keep track of your acceptance, rejections, and pauses from HR teams. It is very, very important that this happens. Very, very important that you keep track of them. And by keep track, I'm not saying keep track of every application. I mean, keep track of every time an HR person tells you, yay, we like your application. We'd like to move forward with you. From the very first email saying we like you to when they shank you over, they tell you to go bye-bye. Keep track of it. I mean, there's something I know that 90% of what we learn in a day, we forget at the end of the day. And probably 100% of it, forget it the next day. So imagine you've been applying for 3 months or 4 months. How would you do like a self-retrospection of yourself of how you've been doing? I would show you my own list of over 40 interviews I've done in the last 3 months or 4 months and how I broke them down. Another one, send reminders after 2 days. If you sent an email to the HR after an interview and get no response, 2 days. It shouldn't be more than 2 days. It worked for me. It shouldn't be 1 day. It should be after 2 days. Because, I mean, you understand it. The HR, I mean, they had over 10,000 people apply. They probably reached out to 500, and it's just one HR person. So they'll be grateful to you if you send a reminder saying, hi, you promise you're good, because they always promise they'll give you feedback, a feedback at a particular timeline. So always send a reminder every 2 days. Deprioritize the role if there's no response from the company after 2 weeks. In fact, 2 weeks, yeah. And trust me, an average HR team, some of them are here on the call, you are here. After 2 weeks and you've not given a response to the candidates, the likelihood they are not going further with the candidate is like about 98%, except there's an act of God, honestly. And except the company is ridiculously slow. Even Microsoft wouldn't take up to 2 weeks to respond to you. But to save yourself the hassle and the heartbreak, after 2 weeks, deprioritize it and say bye-bye and move on. Next, the HR team would traditionally not share any feedback with you no matter the stage. honestly. So be ready to make your assumption, especially if you waited 2 weeks and no response. Be ready to make your assumptions and analyze yourself. It is important that you analyze yourself after the interview and after the 2 weeks. So you analyze yourself based on the time that you applied. Did you apply very early? If you applied very early, there's a tendency that they'll get back to you, especially if your resume is top notch. If you applied very late, there's a 98% chance nobody will respond to you, no matter how qualified you are. Thank God for LinkedIn. When you see a job role on LinkedIn and you see that 2,700 people have applied, don't just bother. Don't bother. Just move on. And that's why you have to have job alerts set on LinkedIn and the rest. So another way you can analyze yourself after HR is giving you feedback is how different was the application at submission. So again, I mentioned it earlier. When you're submitting your application, make sure you fill all the spots, the ones that are not even tag mandatory. Example, for cover letter, your LinkedIn link. If you have a website, you should have a website, especially if you're relocating to another country. It's simple to build. Wix can help you do that. Put a version of your LinkedIn on the website so you can have both your LinkedIn profile, your resume, and the website. Fill absolutely everything. If you notice that you didn't do well in the application, just remove yourself from the picture. Next slide. Thank you. So, yeah, so if you've added a very interesting achievement, interesting cover letter, if your cover letter was not interesting, if some people are like me, every day or every 2 days, I change my cover letter on my resume. Something doesn't just work. I mean, I just change it all the time. So when you're retrospecting and looking back and you see that you've not done well, just remove yourself from the picture. And also, positively stalk the job application. I think I had an interview with a unicorn, is a $16 billion unicorn marketer, and after the second week of posting the job, they had not chosen anybody. They had closed the job. Some after 2 months of application, they'll still leave it open. So you can use that to check if you can still get the job or not. And most important, I think people are always very, very tempted to do this. And because of the remote culture, if you're having a video interview, your videos must always be on. I think we all know this, but I like to say it again. The videos must always be on in an interview. Always. They shouldn't tell you to put it on. And most importantly, please don't wear around neck checks to an interview. I mean, this is a developed country, for God's sakes. I mean, they have a certain standard. I mean, in our Nigeria, in our Africa, where we're still coming up, it's okay to maybe look a bit relaxed, but over here, because you know what you're looking for. I mean, and I would like to say this: you are not a citizen, neither are you like white in that sense, or whatever can I say. You are not an indigenous person. You are not. How will I put it in this way that is politically correct? Okay. Anyways, you get my point. Look business casual. I moved faster with one unicorn startup, one unicorn company in the US, Tipalti, because of that. When they asked me to do a video task, I wore a suit to do a video interview, and it didn't take them less than 30 minutes to respond. And I know I did shabbily in the video task, honestly. Yeah, do not submit your task late. I noticed that anytime I apply for a job and I give an assessment, I have gotten every single job I did an assessment for. I mean, I might be a perfectionist, but never submit your task late. Never submit it in the 11th hour. The earlier you submit, the better. But I always do 11th hour submission. I don't know why, but I guess. Always submit your task on time. And most importantly, read extensively about the company, how it started, and you must know the founder's vision. When you start talking about the founder and the owner of the company from the very beginning of the call, the likelihood of they getting back to you is higher. Honestly. This is based on experience from over 40 or 45 interviews in less than 4 months. And I have at least 3 questions to ask. All of this context I'm saying right now applies to when you're applying for jobs abroad, whether you're in Nigeria or in the UK. And it's based on my own experience. I mean, a number of us here have applied for a number of jobs, but I am telling you this because of it has worked for me. I mean, I've gotten 2 jobs in the last 4 months, right? And currently on 1 at the moment. And I mean, that works. I mean, and depending on how desperate you are, please be ready to say you're ready to resume immediately. They always ask that question. How soon do you, what's your timeline to resumption? I mean, you need to hand the hard currency. So you better say immediately. If you're still engaged with your company and they have a very, very tight policy. And one thing I noticed also, if you're working with a local organization in your country at home and a country and another company in the UK, somehow it doesn't apply. The 1 month notice doesn't apply. It's a different country, a different labor law. So you can say you resume immediately. Honestly, you can actually, and nothing will happen. Yeah, from experience. So, but if you're trying to be safe, say at least 2 weeks. A number of companies abroad in the UK, US, a number of them are looking to fill those roles immediately, and they oftentimes will tell you. So just say you resume immediately. I mean, most times it's the hiring manager that asks that. So as you progress to the end of the interviews, they would ask you again. So it's important that you say immediately so you pass the first stage. And finally, I beg you, in this economy, there are a lot of jobs. Even if your role is just one role, apply for at least 50 jobs a day. At some point, I was only 120. And I'd gotten so used to it. And thank God I'm a salesperson. I'd gotten so used to sending emails to clients that I could apply for a job in less than 30 seconds. And in a day, I mean, since I didn't have much to do, I could apply for 120, 130 jobs a day and populate all the field as much as possible. So, next slide. I think I've exhausted all my points. I still have 1 or 2 or 3. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. Never stop applying. So let me give you context. You are in a country where your presence or your time in the country is timed. Let's accept that. Whether you have a global talent visa, it's timed by 5 years. Whether you have a student visa, it's timed by one year. Some visiting visa, 4 months. What that means is, if you apply for a job now and they give you an offer and they put you on a 3-month probation, anything can happen before that 3 months. For context, the first job I got when I got here was a 3-month contract role, and they laid me off in a month and a half because they didn't completely state the requirement of the role. I mean, I put all my mind on it, like, finally, I'm in the UK. I can actually begin to probably rent a house or maybe do some stuff based on this. And in an instant, I was let go. And that scattered my mindset for a while. And thank God I didn't stop applying. Because while I was still doing that, I had like 3 or 4 interviews. All I did was just I fell back on them. And the speed at which I continued applying after being laid off, I mean, I said I was in 120, but I was in 200 applications a day. So never stop applying until you're sure that you've gotten your place in the organization after the probation. That's when you slow down the pace of application. Again, the higher you earn in this country or in the country you're moving to, or if you're in Nigeria, the country you're targeting to, the better. And you can always earn higher. That's one thing. So, I mean, the starting salary to be in the UK here is, according to the law, is about £26,000 a year, which is way more than most of us are earning in our local country, which you would agree. And the prospect of you getting to £90,000 or £100,000 in a year or 6 months is very, very likely. And how do you get that? You can only get that by continually applying. You have to understand that you have to be loyal to yourself first before you're loyal to any company. Once you understand that prospect, you understand that very much, you know that at every point of your stay in the UK, always keep applying for your application to the UK. So this is a sample of my resume for sales. The first thing I did in my profile was talk about exactly where I'm working at, what I'm doing, and my key strengths. Because I mean, an average HR person only has 6 seconds or 7 seconds to go through a resume. And avoid the colors, avoid the drama on your resume. Keep it as simple as possible. Highlight what you want to highlight. Use all the numbers you can. And I intentionally removed some of the experiences that are not sales related on this resume. So if you see it, I mean, I like it. It looks attractive. And the font is fantastic. With the spacing, it's not choking. And after I mean, this resume got me literally most of the jobs that I applied for. Some I got to final stage, some they shanked me in the second stage, first stage. But this is a template of my sales resume. Yeah, you could scroll down, one could see it. So, because I did a lot of contract jobs, I was very, very tricky and smart about the time on this resume. So if you notice on the resume, Michelle, if you scroll down, I'm currently with Okra and I put present. But at a particular point, I was doing Jetstream and a number of companies together with Okra. So rather than put the entire time frame, I just put the month I started. The month I started, September 22, August 2022. So if you look at the progression, it still looked as though I didn't overlap. And one thing they don't really like here is when they know on your LinkedIn or your resume they are doing 2 or 3 jobs. It's a turn off, absolutely. And more importantly, I beg you in the name of God, if you're in the US or if you're in the UK, if you're in the UK, your location should be London. On your LinkedIn, on your resume, it should be London. How you will go from Plymouth to London, you sort that out yourself. How you will go from Derby or Birmingham to London for the interview, you sort that out yourself. 50% or 70% of the time when I applied for roles, if I mention that I live or I stay in the outskirts of London, I'm disqualified because 95% of roles now are hybrid. No one does full remote jobs. Again, as a why? I mean, honestly, most of the jobs are hybrid. And if you don't say you're in London, or you're not living in London, you wouldn't get an opportunity. In the US, New York, or California, or the popular places there, it is important that you're location specific, the time specific. And as you can see on the resume, I embolded numbers. Because I'm in sales, the numbers are important. And I put my targets there so you can see it. So you should have access to this and see how it goes. Next page. So I have a sales resume and a project management resume. This is the next slide is a template for a project management resume. If you noticed on, the next slide, Michelle. Yeah, if you noticed the title, the roles, the title of the roles, the narration of the professional profile is all different. So in fact, even though that the fonts were the same and the name are the same, you wouldn't think it's the same person, honestly. And both resumes have served their purpose. I got a number of interviews applying as 2 different members. In fact, on Otter, I had 2 different profiles, one for sales and the other for project management. So I think then we could slow down. Yeah, we should scroll down, please. Yes, scroll down. The next slide will be showing all the jobs I applied for. Yeah. So this is how I tracked all of the jobs I applied for, about 45 of them in the last 4 months. This gave me context as to, I realized that most of the companies shanked me off on the second stage and the first stage. And I don't know why some of them, the ones that moved, and I honestly, I felt that they wouldn't take me to the second stage. But regardless, what this would do for you is it gives you a general profile of where you're coming from, where you're going to. The ones I got off out, I put it there. The ones that sacked me, I put it there. But you can see, like, I have some really big names that invited me for interview. I mean, when you see these names that invited you for interview, you're like, I mean, I'm something like, like I'm something like, you know, when you apply for jobs so much in the UK, you get to doubt your ability. Like, am I what I am? I mean, I spent 10 years in the tech space. I think I'm a professional. But when you get to the UK and you are seeing at least 20 rejections or 30 rejections a day, but when you see something like this, look at TrueLayer has received over 270 million in venture capital from Stripe and PayPal. Gartner is the largest advisory and research organization in the world. Trint is a Canadian startup. Flywire is a unicorn. Robin is a unicorn. Foundervine is the largest social impact startup in UK. Employment Hero is a unicorn in Australia, probably the only unicorn. Marketer is a $90 billion worth startup. Exclaimer, I mean, these are the companies that saw my resume, the fact the way I applied, and they deemed it fit to have an interview with me. I mean, I don't even care if we didn't go to the final stage, but this is enough validation for you to know you're doing the right thing. And how do you know that? How do you know that? By keeping a list. Keep a list of every single person that said, we love your resume, we'd like to have an interview with you. That is, I mean, if Michelle, if you scroll down so that you show that it's about 45 or 40 of this. Honestly, I don't know how I kept all of this. And if you see the name, Zoe is there. I mean, Kano Intelligence is there. Companies I never even knew existed that are unicorns. Conga is worth about $22 billion. Some companies are applied twice, 3 times. and they kept coming back, even though they kept rejecting me in the second stage or third stage. So I think the last document is like, so about 36 companies in the last 3 months, 36 interviews at different stages and at different periods. So you could see it started from October up until February. So I hope I've not spoken too much, and I hope I've spoken some sense, and I hope I've shared, because I felt bad, like, will I go through all of this experience? And there are people out there that are going through looking for jobs, that are probably 2 weeks away from their visa being rejected, people that to pay for rent alone, I mean, £800 rent, £600 rent, and your salary in your local home is probably £200. How do you survive? And I'm like, I have to share this, and this is me sharing it. So thank you for listening to my TED Talk. If you have any question, let me know.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this. Was really, really insightful, and you were like on point. Someone actually mentioned that, like that you were on point, literally. So that was really, really insightful. Someone is like, thank you, sending thank yous for you in the chat. There's a couple of questions already, both in the chat and in the Q&A. So I'm gonna start taking some of them. If you guys haven't sent your questions, you can still send the questions both in the chat or in the Q&A. And remember, the Q&A is in the bottom part of your Zoom screen. So I'm gonna start reading some of them for you, Lakon, even though you can actually see them as well. Okay, so let me see which one we're gonna start with. So give me just a second. Okay, there's an interesting one coming in the Q&A. So they're asking, if you mean even after securing a good paying job, one should keep applying? Or do you mean as long as one has gotten the job, that is the one, that's the moment we should stop, just to be clear? So I guess this depends on the person, on the specific situation of each person, but what is maybe your general like insight on this?
Honestly, you're not in your home country. You're not in your motherland. The country and the company is not devoted to you, or they're not committed to you. What that means is when they are deciding who to prioritize in the company or in the country, you wouldn't be in the top two. What that also means is you should also keep your option open. Even if you've gotten a job, you can turn down your application by 80%, but you always have to keep your options open. 50% of salaries in the UK or where you're relocating to goes into accommodation. Another 20% of it goes into bills. If you lose your job or your job is being questioned at all, and you have absolutely no fallback in, I mean, the kind of trauma you would have. I mean, I'm saying it from experience, you do not want to be in that kind of position. If you're in your home country, fine, you can run to your father or your mother or your brother, or your friends can save you, but you don't have that kind of opportunity here. I mean, I would take it that most of us here, our parents are not billionaires or trillionaires. We don't have inheritance somewhere. You have to be loyal to yourself, honestly. And at the same time, have a level of loyalty to your company. It's okay. But always keep your options open. Always and always. So please, if you have a job, keep applying. Honestly, keep applying.
Amazing. There's another question on also on the Q&A. So it's coming from anonymous attendee. They're asking that they don't understand the location part. So they're asking, for example, being in Nigeria, will this diminish the probability of me getting a job in New York, for example, because my location in LinkedIn or any other like digital platform says that I am currently living in Nigeria? If that's the case, how can we fix that? Should we just match with location?
That's a very, 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 very good question. That's a very good question. So I'm not saying you should lie. I mean, I don't lie. I don't believe in lying. But you can be strategic. So if you're in Nigeria and you want a job in New York, before then, join the volunteer community. Join the community in New York, online or something. Join the community in New York, or find a friend that lives in New York. Or connect to somebody on LinkedIn that you can be close to, and probably ask for permission to use their location. But the most important thing is location limitation has been, even in Nigeria, for context, when I was in Nigeria and I was living on the outskirts of Lagos, if I were to put my address as the outskirts of Lagos, 70% of the companies would still reject me. And that's a state where I'm just 20 minutes away. Now imagine you are in Lagos and you're applying for a job in New York. They wouldn't even, I mean, the ATS platform wouldn't even review your resume. So establish some sort of connection or contact with somebody or a company or a volunteer organization in the location you're trying to target and adopt that address on your LinkedIn and your resume. Do not lie. When you are asked the question and you notice, oh, you're in Nigeria, but you put your location as New York, you're like, oh yeah, it's something I can temporarily, something I'm working on. I have family there, I have friends there. At least keep the option open. The idea is always keep the option open that you're open to relocate. And it's not enough to say you can relocate. It's enough to say you have options. Does that make sense?
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a really interesting question. Let's see. I'm trying to take both questions, like different questions from the Q&A and also some from the chat. So bear with me. Okay, so there's okay, there's a question about how to present yourself in interviews coming from Attila on the chat. So they're asking, what do you mean by looking corporate or business casual? Do you mean like to wear like a suit and tie, or what do you recommend? And again, this depends on the company and the person, but in general.
Honestly, one thing we should appreciate is consistency is important. So you don't have to wear a suit. If you can wear a suit, please wear a suit. Please, if you can wear a suit to all your interviews, please wear a suit. I have never seen, based on my history on applying for jobs, and I've applied for jobs, honestly, I can tell you, if you wear a suit to an interview, virtual or physical, first impression always matters. Always. You cannot doubt it. But if you don't have the energy to wear a suit, wear a shirt. Not a pink shirt, not a brown shirt, not a dramatic shirt, not a flowery shirt, wear a white shirt. Wear something that doesn't raise an eyebrow, something that is consistent. So business casual means wear a shirt. So because if I'm coming for a call like this, that's why I can easily wear this. I mean, I'm employed and I'm doing this, but if this were an interview, trust me, I'm wearing a shirt and I probably put a jacket on it, even if it's virtual. But wear something that doesn't complicate or raise an eyebrow. It makes your life easy, honestly.
Great, thank you so much. There's another, like, it's kind of like a comment and also a question on the chat coming from Oluchi. So they're sharing that they are an HR professional. Well, not that they are specifically, but they're putting this as a case. So let's say I'm an HR professional telling an employee in Nigeria that you will have to start immediately. And they're saying that sounds odd to them because in Nigeria they are used to 1 month notice generally. So I'm just like, so what do you think about this? About like getting this notice of like you have to start in a week or like basically tomorrow or like and I like this comment because it also brings like cultural differences between countries, and also like these cultural differences translate to the corporate world. So maybe you are used to like a certain time of period as a notice to quit and also to join a new job, but it might be different in a new country.
So the reason why I mentioned the start immediately thing is so you can let them know. See, you are desperate, honestly. Let's call a spade a spade. You're in the UK, you're in the US, you're desperate for a job. You don't have the time to say for 1 month, 2 weeks, especially if you know there's a workaround around it. So you're desperate. Let's keep it at that. But about say 10% or 20% of companies would only say you should resume immediately. Honestly, no company will say you should resume immediately. In fact, most companies want you to say you have a 1 month notice. I know some cybersecurity firms in UK that they have a 3 month notice, 6 months notice, and they would accept it. But the reason why I'm saying that, if you can resume immediately and you know you can work around it, resume immediately. Again, you are desperate. Again, you are in an economy where money moves everything. If you do not have a salary this month, you'll be defaulting on your rent, default on your light, default on your energy, you default on everything. So if you can resume immediately, resume immediately. And by saying your resume immediately, you are telling them that, okay, I'm open to you fast tracking this application process. I'm open to you saying, even though you have a 2-month notice or 1-month notice, it keeps you ahead of the foray or the list of talent. Say, this guy mentioned is 3 months, this guy mentioned is 2 months, but this guy mentioned is available immediately. And he's a great guy. Again, the idea is to keep your options always open. That's it. I hope that answers the question anyway.
Let's see. I'm trying to check all the questions. Okay, there's a question about coming from Fatima on the chat. So they're saying, what do you think about, besides work experience and education, if you think being active in society, meaning social events, volunteering, has any relevance in your application?
Oh, he does. Oh, he does. He does so much. For context, I started my career in the banking sector as a salesperson in 2018, and I studied political science, philosophy, and economics. Of course, you know what that means. I'm a jack of all trades. I don't have a specialization. Then I was like, what certification can I do to at least have a career that's consistent? I was like, if I do ACCA or ICANN or CFA, I'll be limited to accounting, and I find accounting boring. If I do a CIPM on HR professional course, I'll be limited to HR. Then I chose project management. I got a project management certification. But if me and you both know that if you have a certification in a developing country, doesn't mean you're guaranteed a job. Doesn't mean you're guaranteed a career. You just have it as a carton on your LinkedIn, somewhere lying around. The only way you can validate your certification experience is by volunteering and joining societies. So what did I do? Before I wrote the exam, I became a member of the Project Management Institute in the United States. And I became a global volunteer. And I became a regional volunteer and a local volunteer. I was volunteering on 4 strata. And for 2 years, that was the only project management experience I had because I volunteered. So by volunteering with PMI, project management, you have access to volunteer opportunities across the world. Then, off of that experience, that volunteering and the certification, I got a technical project management role and a sales role in a product delivery company. And I got a program management role contract in a startup in Kenya. All of this is the reason why I have a program management role in the UK now. The job I have now is not a sales role. It's a program management role, project management role. And I've been laying the foundation of this since 2019. And I eventually got the job, the project management job, how many years later? 4 years or 5 years later. So the only way your certification is, do not do a certification or had another certification if you're not part of the society, part of a network, part of a volunteering group, or have done anything at all. Because honestly, if you do a certification and you do another one, you're literally wasting your money. Again, they would only employ you here, even in your country, based on experience, not a certification. The world has moved away from education and certification, honestly. The world has moved away from that to experience. You would see a person that finished school this year and has gotten a full stack role or a program manager role in a big startup. Why? Because when he was in school, he was doing everything, experience back to back to back. You would see somebody that finished BSc in 2021, but he's a manager in a company 2 years after. And you finished 2016. 7 years later, you're still a mid-level talent because you're pushing certification up and down. Sorry for my Nigerian nuances, but honestly, certification is not the way. First, experience is the way, volunteering is the way, then maybe certification. Ideally, you should get a certification after your experiences, not before your experiences. That's the way it works. But I mean, we've twisted it around in the developing countries. So I hope that makes sense.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that experience. I'm also sharing, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, me?
Oh, no, sorry. I thought you were going to say something. I also want to share in the chat. I know we only have like 2 minutes left. This time flew by. But I want to share in the chat. I'm sending it right now. I want to invite everyone in this session to this workshop that we will have on Sunday. And it's basically, we will have a 2-part series on how to pass the interview. But these workshops are going to be focused on The first one that we have this Sunday is how to pass the first interview with the company. Because, you know, many times when you're applying to a job, even if it's in your country, if it's remote, if it's like abroad, there's always like at least 2 interviews or sometimes 3. And the typical ones, it's like the first screening interview, maybe with an HR person. If you pass that one, then there's another one, a panel interview with maybe the hiring manager, the HR person, maybe someone else. So we're gonna do 2-part series of these workshops. This Sunday, we have the first one, and it's how to pass the first interview with a global company. And these workshops are led by our amazing career coach, who's a Stanford career coach. So it's high level. You will have the best tips. So I invite you, everyone, to join that workshop, because everyone here is looking to work for a global company anyway. So I invite you to join that workshop, and that way you can take the next step on how to pass the interview on whatever you're looking for. So I did wanted to send that invite before we ended this this talk. I know we have some questions that we didn't have time to answer, but I love how the energy and the so many questions that came up. And thank you everyone for staying with us. Thank you for joining. I saw
Thank
a
you so much.
couple.
Thank you so much, everyone. Go on.
I saw a couple of people joining after we started the session, even from China, Indonesia. So there's people from all over the world listening to you, Lakon. So thank you everyone for joining from wherever you are. And thank you so much to you, Lakon, for joining with us today. And we will have another event with Lakon next month. So please go to the event page and sign up for next event with Lakon or with any other expert. And we hope to see you there. I don't know if you have any last words before we go.
I think my last word is the only way forward is forward. We've braved it enough to leave our country. I mean, only the brave would leave his motherland, where his family is, where he's built his entire life, his entire career. Only the brave would do that. Now you've gotten to this land, to this country. The only thing you cannot do is give up, honestly. You cannot give up. I mean, again, regardless of whether you came with a family or you're alone or you came with 10 people, you absolutely cannot give up. The only way forward, again, is forward. The only way forward is forward. I'm sorry, it's forward. There's no pause. 0.1% is growth. 0.0001% is growth. Keep growing, keep going forward, and don't give up. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I love to end with that note. And let's keep going, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. And I will hope to see you in another localized event or this Sunday in the workshop with our Stanford career coach. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you, guys. Bye.